Welcome to Richmond International Raceway. We're kicking off our Friday media availability with Carl Edwards, the driver of the number 19 ARRIS surfboard Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. Carl, you have 2 wins this season. Looking for your career sweep, third career sweep this weekend at Richmond. One of those came in April. Another win, extra 3 bonus points. Yeah. Maybe open up talking about how important those 3 bonus points could be towards your chase total.
Yeah, so I'm very familiar with how important each point is. So we definitely want to win this race, get some points. But really, we talked about a lot this week. This place is so much fun with the tire and this downforce package and the surface. Even out there in practice right now, I mean, you're just sliding all over the place, sideways, searching for grip. It's a really, really fun racetrack. So I had a blast here in the spring. It was exactly the kind of race and the kind of the cars drove the way that I really enjoy. So I'm looking forward to this race. It should be fun. Excellent.
Open up for questions to Carl. If you have a question, please raise your hand and state your name and affiliation when called upon. We'll start with Claire and then go with Nick.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Carl, can you talk about the feeling of pressure once the chase starts, how it changes your life or, you know, the nervousness, the thoughts you have?
So one of the neatest things about this sport, the thing that shocked me the most, I guess, once I got into the Cup Series, just how much pressure there always is. You know, for everybody on the team. As a driver, I mean, the first time I was involved in a chase battle was 2005, trying to make the chase here. And that race, I can still remember very specific details about that race. It seemed like it took about a year. It was a huge amount of pressure just to make it in. Now, with the chase format that we have, we've got this race for a lot of guys is huge pressure. Then 3 races from now, all of us are going to feel it. And 3 races from that, and 3. I mean, there are a lot of very important parts, very important races that are coming up, and it's really fun. I mean, it's neat. You know, sometimes when I feel all that pressure, I think, man, there's really nothing else in my life that makes me feel this way. It's pretty cool to have the opportunity to have something that you care about that much. So we enjoy it. We're looking forward to it, and hopefully we can use it to our advantage.
Okay, we'll go with Nick here in the center.
Nick DeGroot, Motorsport.com. Carl, you had a great battle with Kyle earlier this year here. I was just wondering, if you were in that same position again with Kyle, would you have any reservations about making the same move?
Oh, man. I was just thinking, I can still feel Coach Gibbs' presence right here from last time I was sitting here after the race. You know, Kyle and I talked. We actually talked about it last night. Denny was nice enough to give me a ride here, and we joked around about it a little bit. But, you know, I think right now both of us having wins, you know, I think we all know that right now this is an opportunity for us to go race, have as much fun as we can, race each other as hard as we possibly can. So I don't know. I know if we're put in a position and the roles are reversed, I know exactly what to expect tomorrow night. But, you know, I plan on racing as hard as I can for the victory.
Go Woody, then Brent, and then jump in the back.
Woody Kane with MRN. Carl, I was just curious, the years that you've been in the chase, what things have you learned from it that you'll take into this year's battle?
I've learned a lot. I've had the opportunity to be in some really good chase battles, and I think everyone's learned a lot. I think everyone's, I guess their thinking and their strategies have evolved. I mean, everyone is prepared. You know, when we start at Chicago, everyone is going to get every single position, every point, you know, really lunge for those wins. I guess the most notable thing that I've learned is how easy it is to falter, how easy it is to make a mistake and fall out. So you can't relax for a minute. You got to go 100%.
We'll come up to the front here with Brent and then in the back.
I think you kind of touched on what I was going to ask. Has Brant James, USA Today, has a book developed how to manage this new chase, especially the early rounds?
Yeah, there are a bunch of things you have to do right. I mean, but the thing with a 3-round chase, you know, or you know, a 3-race round, is that one mistake, one problem, you know, one penalty, that it can really set you back. I mean, it's very easy to screw it up. I guess so. I don't know if there's a book on how to do, you know, exactly how to do it, other than don't make mistakes. You know, don't put yourself in a hole. I think that's the key, especially these early rounds. It's very easy to fall out. I mean, we saw some really good cars out after the first round last year.
Is that tough to, I guess, mentally get your head around? It could be a super long campaign, and then
Right.
$5 thing breaks, and then someone wrecks you because they're mad, and your season's over.
Right. Yeah. You have to be prepared. And I mean, it's interesting. NASCAR has they found a way to take a very long season full of very long races and then condense it down into a real sprint. I mean, it goes by in a flash, those 3 race rounds. So, we found ourselves last year at Phoenix, we were 1 lap from going back green, having a chance to try to put ourselves in that final round at Homestead. The rain came, and we were done. And I could go back, even in that race and the 2 races before that, and I could find a couple points that we should have gotten, and it would have gave us a chance to race for the championship. So it's just so easy to give it away, but that's what makes it fun. I mean, you got to really be perfect, and everybody else is trying hard.
Sir?
Carl, Mark Davis here from NBC 12 in Richmond. Dale Jr. announcing he's going to be out for the rest of the season. Just want to get your thoughts on that, and how much stronger is your sport with him behind the wheel on the track with you guys every week?
Well, I think, man, I got to say that I'm really impressed with how Dale has handled this whole thing. I don't think anybody in the sport loves auto racing more than Dale Jr. For him to step out and do the right thing, regardless of what people might think, that takes a lot of strength. And the other thing I've been really impressed with is just how involved he's been, even being out of it. He's let people see what's going on. He's come to the track. I got the chance to see him at Watkins Glen. I mean, he's still really involved. So I feel like Dale Jr. will be in our sport. Hopefully, he's back in a car as soon as he wants to. I feel like he's going to be a big part of our sport for a long time. I haven't talked to him about it personally, but I just get that feeling.
Tom?
Hi, Carl. Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. We've seen penalties play a big role this year. Got a couple guys who don't get to pick pit stalls this weekend.
Yeah, I had to sit for 15 minutes there. So
Yeah. Do you think that's going to play a factor in the chase this year? Is somebody going to get hit with a penalty that maybe knocks them out?
I think I know for me personally, I haven't talked to many people about it in depth, but seeing the 31 cars penalty and realizing, whoa, that could affect literally your entire season. A penalty like that, I think that got my attention. We're pushing everything. Everybody pushes every little thing as far as they can. I mean, down to pit road speeds. We talked about this week about trying hard to get more time on pit road and trying to. But man, it's NASCAR's doing a really thorough job right now of making sure you don't step out of the box, and so you got to really be careful.
Gentleman in the back.
Carl, Sean Robertson, CBS affiliate here in Richmond. You mentioned how important those 3 bonus points will be tomorrow night, but in your situation, already in the chase, is this a race where you kind of tinker with some things as you prepare for the chase, or are you going full bore, all out for the win?
No, it's a really good question. We're going to go out. There's a couple things I still want to try. From the driver's seat, just a couple of little things, kind of some housekeeping stuff, and I'm going to push it a little bit tomorrow night. We're going to just go out there and really push hard, try to get every little bit, and we talked about the penalties and stuff. This race tomorrow night is one. It's really the last time we can afford to have any mistakes. So just kind of try to play loose a little bit and go for it, and hopefully it gets us a win. But yeah, this is the last one without all the pressure, so we're gonna have some fun.
Okay, any final questions for Carl? One more. Can we, right here, Craig.
But it's with the Richmond Times-Dispatch, Carl, how important, or at least when you're racing in a race like this, you got guys on the bubble and drivers on the bubble who are trying to push to get there. Where's the line, I guess, for somebody who might be on the bubble, and then for other people who are already in, and not to push it too hard, I guess, and run the night?
I know how important this race is. I just got through saying how much we're going to have some fun, and we don't have a lot of pressure. But for some guys, this is their whole season, everything they've worked for. So I'll definitely be conscious of that. You don't want to mess up anybody's season. But it'll be kind of fun to watch that during the race. Watch what people do and how hard they go, and that'll be entertaining. And but yeah, we definitely don't want to mess them up. Those guys are racing for everything.
Great. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, continuing on with media availability, we have the driver of the number 16 Lilly Diabetes Ford for Roush Fenway Racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, Ryan Reed. Ryan, you're here this weekend. Yesterday, you took some time, headed over to Hunter Holmes McGuire VA Medical Center through a partnership with RIR. Today, you're going to meet with some veterans later on. It's NASCAR Fan Appreciation Weekend here at the track, and there's a lot of NASCAR fans who are veterans who can't get out. What was it like to be able to go and interact with some of those fans who can't get out to the racetrack?
Oh, man, it was pretty special. I've never been up there. And that, first of all, the place was huge. I couldn't believe just the sheer size of the place. I mean, we toured it. It took us about an hour and a half to kind of go around and tour. And I don't think we saw the whole place. It was a pretty amazing facility, a lot of technology. So it was really cool of them to let us come up there and hang out. But it was even more cool to kind of meet with all the a lot of the veterans. A lot of those guys are huge race fans. Knew all about racing and was very up to date on everything. And so it was cool to see how much the sport means to them, but then also just to kind of hear their stories and hear what they've done for our country. And so it was a huge honor to be able to go meet those guys and to see their reaction of us going there was very memorable for me personally. And then also there's 25% of veterans are actually living with diabetes, and so me and myself living with diabetes, that's pretty big connection. And so they have a whole diabetes unit there. Got to go meet some of the veterans living with diabetes, and so it was personally special for me as well. And it was a really cool trip.
Anything stick out? Any interaction with any particular person or anything like that, or all meaningful in their own way?
Yeah, I mean, certainly you're not going to sit there and talk to a veteran and not pay attention, not take it, in its own right. But, there was one guy that came up and was talking to me, and I was there with Brandon Jones. We were signing autographs, and, oh, man, he knew everything about racing that you could possibly know. He probably talked to us for 20 minutes about the chase and where I was at in points, and if I was stressed out. I mean, he probably knew more about where I was at in points than I do, so he was very on it as far as his racing knowledge goes. But it was pretty cool to see, like I said, just how many race fans there were there. It's as a race car driver, when you can talk about racing with somebody, it makes the conversation flow a little easier.
Speaking of points in the chase tonight, you'll have the opportunity to clinch a spot in the chase even without a win. How does that change your approach, knowing that you'd like to get that win, but you can clinch a spot if you run well?
About 6 weeks ago, we had kind of had a string of bad races, and we felt like, man, we're not all that safe as far as the chase goes. And so we kind of put our head down and clicked off a few top 10s, got top 5 at Road America. Had finished 13th at Darlington, which was mediocre, but still a decent points day. And I think I wasn't even paying attention to points. I knew we were, putting ourselves in a good position, but someone said we're maybe 70 points to the good. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we're right there. And like I said, we can clinch it tonight. But kind of like I was in here when Carl was up here a few minutes ago, and he was talking, and you can be a lot more aggressive and try things. And we had a very experimental practice this morning, tried a lot of things, especially there's not a whole lot of short tracks in the chase for us, but looking ahead to Phoenix, maybe if we can get that far, this is a place where we could maybe learn some stuff for there. So tried a lot this morning. Feel like we had a pretty productive practice. So, we definitely want to get ourselves clinched in tonight. Even if we don't, we still feel like we're in a pretty good spot to be able to go out there and get after it and go for a good run and maybe even go for a win. Obviously, you still want to, even if we do get clinched in, wins are still going to help us once we get into the chase.
Does anybody else have questions for Ryan? We'll go right here.
Dave Lawrence, Richmond Suburban News. I had did a story on you a few years ago, and they were learning how to monitor and how to control your blood sugar during races. I mean, have you gotten better? I mean, not that you were bad with that, but I mean, has that gotten easier, or has it gotten a little more effortless? You don't have to think about it as much now.
I think it's talking to anyone living with diabetes, and regardless of what your occupation is, your day-to-day life is your day-to-day life, and race car driving is part of my day-to-day life, fortunately. But I think don't know if it becomes easier or more effortless, but it becomes more of a routine. It becomes something that I guess gets a little more comfortable. But technology keeps advancing. Things continue to get more reliable, more accurate. And when it comes to watching your blood sugar, something that is so pivotal in your day-to-day, not only health, but just the way you feel and your energy levels, it affects you in so many ways that, how reliable that equipment is and the technology that you have in place is really important. So I think every day more and more technology comes out and, it becomes more reliable. It only helps me manage it and makes my life a little bit easier, and I feel a little better too.
Anybody else have questions for Ryan? Go to Woody.
Woody came with MRN. After you leave the short track, you go to Chicago. I'm just curious about where you feel your program is stronger. Is it short tracks? Is it the intermediates? Where do you feel like you guys are really clicking right now?
Well, I feel like we're bringing better race cars to the mile and a half than short track. I feel like short track's probably where we're the worst. I feel like we just have the least amount of speed and balance at short tracks. I think we, have a long way to go there. With that being said, we have made some progress at short tracks, but, places I'm really looking forward to going to Chicago, and then I'm really looking forward to going to Kentucky. We had a really fast car there and had a mechanical problem earlier in the year, but I feel like that's a place where we can go, maybe even contend for a win, but for sure have a solid top 10 day and be around all day to put ourselves in position. So I feel like our mile and a half stuff is pretty good. I feel like our, high, max grip stuff like Kansas, Kentucky, Michigan, those are the places where I would say our stuff's probably the best. And so I would say Kentucky and Kansas are probably our best places to get a win at the Chase. But Chicago and Charlotte, I feel like are, we can put ourselves in position for a good finish there as well.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. Good luck tonight.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll continue our availabilities with the most recent NASCAR Xfinity Series winner, one at Darlington, driver of the number 1 OneMain Financial Chevrolet for Junior Motorsports. Elliott, you are the only driver to clinch a Chase spot in both the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series and NASCAR Xfinity Series, so you know this place as the Chase caught up very well. Plus, growing up an hour away from here, this is a special place for you. What are you looking for coming into this weekend?
Well, it's a special weekend, guys, especially for all the fans here in this area. I think we understand how blessed we are to have the final weekend of the Chase, especially for the Cup guys getting in. Brings a lot of hype to this part of the country, and we're all race fans here, especially in the southern part of Virginia. So it's special for me, not only as a driver, but also a fan. Coming off a big weekend at Darlington, my phone has rang off the hook this week as far as getting passes and getting tickets. I just went to the ticket office and purchased 50 tickets for tonight's race. So it's cool when a lot of people come and want to support you, and we got a lot of momentum on our side right now, and I can't think of a better place to be than right here in Richmond. And it's definitely an honor to be somebody that has been a part of the Cup Chase its first year, and now part of the Xfinity Chase its first year. Not everybody can say that, so that's pretty neat to be a part of that.
Right. Nobody can say that, only you. Who's got questions for Elliott? We'll start over here with Jim.
Jim Utter, motorsport.com. Welcome to the Media Center, by the way.
Thank you.
How is your having run for championships in Cup and Xfinity, how is you think your team's approach changing now with you guys got 2 wins, and is it changing? How is it different than in past recent seasons where you've run for the championship?
That's a good question, Jim. It's and thanks for having me again in the Media Center. It's cool to see you guys every once in a while. And as far as prepping for the Chase, I feel like I can bring the mental part of it from a driver standpoint, being a part of it in the Cup Series. I understand how it's all going to get ramped up and emotions are going to get high because it's kind of life or death here as we move forward. But I tell you, I think the biggest thing going to help me is my crew chief. He's been a part of it with Dale Jr. the last couple of years in the Cup Series. He understands what's going to come towards us from a car preparation point. We started preparing for the Chase around the end of July, and we saw a little bit of the effects of that last weekend at Darlington on getting our cars lined up. testing some things. We understand what we're going to run at each track coming up. We feel very prepared about our position going into the chase. We don't think we're going to get outrun in the chase. We're definitely going to be fast enough. It's just going to be keeping ourselves in good situations and not kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. Kevin has done a tremendous job, not only while we've been racing at the track, but also stockpiling all the data, all the notes, all the cars, all the parts, everything we need to when Kentucky gets here. We're going to be very prepared. And Darlington last week to us was treated like a chase race. The car that we brought, the mentality that we had, the way we went through things this was kind of a practice run for us. So to run like we did at Darlington right off the truck and the way we competed in the race gives us some good confidence as we head down to Kentucky in a couple weeks.
Go Tom, Bob, and then in the back to Sean and Mark.
Hi, Elliott. Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. Congratulations on your Darlington win. 2 questions. Number one, where does Darlington rank in the races you've won in your career? And number 2, how much is the high heat here going to play a factor in tonight's race?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hot here today. Thankfully, I'm from Virginia, so used to this humidity. And so I don't think the heat's going to be too bad for a night race. As far as the Darlington win, guys, I've been trying to win that race for a long time. I've had a chance to win a cup race there or two and thrown it away. I've had a chance to win the Xfinity race there a couple of times, and I got wrecked on the last lap in 2012 and should have won. I got passed by Chase Elliott on the last lap 2 years ago. I got a lot of top fives and stuff there the last couple of years. So we've been there in position. So honestly, it's pretty high on the list, and for a few different reasons. All the stuff that's going on with my owner, Dale, the last couple of weeks. To get that phone call from him and to get another phone call from him again this week to talk about different things makes it very special. To hold somebody off like Denny Hamlin, his record speaks for itself at Darlington, how good he's been there. So pretty special weekend for me. And my wife and kids are there with me, man. Anytime you can't buy a ticket to that show, man. You got to earn your family in victory lane. So it's neat to be able to share that emotion with them. So definitely very high on the list.
Bob Ponkers, ESPN. How do you think the Xfinity Chase will be different than the Cup Chase? You start with a standalone event, and then you kind of have a couple-week break there in the middle of it.
We get a chance to cool off, Bob, maybe. Yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad or not. I think, I think the first session is going to be smooth. I think it's going to be that second session when you got to go from 8 to 4 before Homestead. It's going to get pretty tricky. We don't know. The cool thing about the Chase is, you and I can handicap it right now, just like we can handicap the Cup race. But we've seen in the years past with late restarts and, pit calls and track position and penalties and speeding on pit road and all these things thrown into it. It just ramps up the excitement and probably the unknowns that's going to come with the Chase. So, I mean, I can handicap it right now and tell you who I think we're going to have to beat when we get to Homestead. But you just never know when you race what's going to happen, Bob. So I don't know. But we as a team are happy for the 2-week break because of what we're going to try to do with our cars. So we're kind of happy the 2-week break is in there to make sure we're prepared as best we can going into that final little stretch.
Mark?
Mark Davis, NBC 12 in Richmond. Elliott, you've talked about trying to get a win here, having not won here. Yeah, I know it's kind of a consistent question wherever you come here, but a big time with your consistency and how well you've been doing to get your first win here.
Yeah, I mean, I want to win here, guys. I mean, this is home to me. I know you've heard me tell this story before, but, we came here when you remember the race that used to be in March? Anybody been here when it used to be in March? It was the third race of the year, and it was like 16 degrees on the front stretch. I was here for all those races. So it's neat to come back years later, and I'm on the other side of the fence. It was neat to be here as a fan watching Richard Petty drive the bulldozer on the track to start tearing down the wall when they made it from a half mile to a 3/4 mile. So I was a fan first, and my family and friends and my next door neighbors still have the top row at the start-finish line, 20 tickets long. They still here, come to every race. So it's neat that it's so much family and friends involved to come here to Richmond to support us race. So I got half my kids class is coming tonight to support us tonight. Half the his first grade class and friends are coming because kids 12 and under get in free. So it was a cool concept. So a lot of kids and stuff are coming to watch. So it's just neat for us to be able to be here. And yes, we want to win this race, and nobody's going to give it to us. We have to go earn it, and hopefully we'll be able to make something happen here tonight. It would definitely be special. Especially if you could put two in a row together, coming off such a great historic racetrack like Darlington. But we're going to do our best. But honestly, nobody's put any extra pressure on me. It's all self-inflicted, and I got to go out there and do a good job. I mean, that's all it's going to take.
Sean.
Elliott, Sean Robertson, CBS affiliate in town. Congratulations again on the win at
Thank
Darlington.
you.
I got a two-part question for you. You mentioned about having everybody here for the race tonight. How do you balance trying to deflect the outside distractions to focus on winning your first race here? And the second part, when you were talking about Darlington and preparing that as a chase race for you, what is your mental approach for this race tonight, already being in the chase?
Yeah, well, we can take chances if you're already in the chase. And I've usually done pretty good at balancing, here at Richmond between family and friends coming. My wife does a good job of helping me balance that as well with all the kids and stuff we have coming here tonight. So I'm not worried about that part of it. As far as racing here tonight, balancing for the chase and coming off what we learned last week, we're not treating Richmond the same as what we did Darlington last week. We might be trying a few things, but it doesn't have that same feel to it. We came here tonight just to have some fun. We're going to take some chances. Whatever the race throws at us, we're going to try to make the most of it and hopefully have a good finish for the day's over with.
Chris.
ChrisMikeHeadtrends.com. Hi, Elliott. How are you? What do you think we can expect at Kentucky Speedway? It's the first race for the chase. The track is still relatively going through the asphalt, new asphalt, and it's going to be a standalone race. Do you think that opens a sense of unpredictableness for the opening round of the chase? And do you feel like that you can have a mulligan if you have a bad race at Kentucky and still make it through the next round?
Yeah, I think some of us are looking at that as a good place to try to win, because it is a standalone event. It is a second race back in Kentucky, so it might be a little bit different, but it's a night race. It'll have plenty of grip and stuff in it. But I think a lot of us are looking at, just by being a fan and watching the Sprint Cup guys the last couple of years, it seemed like whoever can win the first race of a round seems to be more relaxed and can try some things and kind of start preparing for the next round. So I think that's the way we're looking at it, Chris. If you can go to Kentucky and win that race, you can kind of bag off there for the rest of that round and start looking at the next round and start focusing on things for that. If you have a really good car that you really like, you might can pull it out of one rotation and add it in somewhere else. So I think a lot of us are looking at Kentucky to maybe make that happen.
Got a follow-up here from Mark. Right behind you.
I'll fire one more at you, Elliott. You had referenced Dale Jr. and his situation earlier. With him being out for the rest of the season, can you just discuss how much stronger NASCAR is when he's behind the wheel, when he's on the track, and for the sport as a whole, how good it is it will be to have him back next season?
Well, it'll definitely be good to have him back next year, and I'll be honest with you guys, the way he's handled it like a pro. I'm not sure all of us in the sport can handle it as good as he has. He's been very open about it. Sharing it with family and friends and race fans and things like that, and I think that's been pretty neat. He's definitely frustrated not being in a race car. He's a race car driver. That's what he wants to do, but I applaud him on how he's looking at this for later on down in life, and he wants to be 100% when he gets to the Daytona 500 in 2017. I mean, my discussion with him this week was as a fellow race car driver. And I mean, okay, Dale, we're going to Richmond this weekend. You won this race in the spring. Anything you saw on the track that maybe I need to look at? What's your car doing in practice compared to the race? I've been looking at videotapes of Homestead and Kansas and Texas and these tracks, and what do you see? This is what I see. What is your mindset? So I leaned on him this weekend as a mentor. This week. It was not about what he was going through, more as, all right, boss man, we're in a pretty good shape right here, and we learned some stuff at Darlington. This is what I'm looking at these tracks. What do you think? So that's kind of the conversation we had this week, and it's pretty cool to be able to lean on him for information like that as well.
Any other questions for Elliott? All right, I think we're good.
All right, thanks guys.
So much,
Have a good weekend.